They were all in the girls' bathroom.
I believe. I believe.
Flipping quarters.
Yeah.
All right, we're good. All right, can I entertain a motion to come out of executive
I'll
session?
make a motion to come out of executive session.
All right, motion by Mr. Calhoun, second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the like sign. So for the record, no action was taken in executive session. We're going to move in and call the Planning Commission meeting to order. Ms. Renee, when you're ready to go, we'll kind of get going. I'll let you get your computer and your paperwork ready to go. All right, you're good? All right, so item number 2 on the Planning Commission is approval of minutes of December of 2020. Entertain a motion for that. A motion by Mr. Bishop.
I think
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the like sign. Item 3 on here shows old business. I don't show anything on old business, Ms. Renee. So move to item 4 under new considerations. I'll let you tell us about number 1, Mr. Clyburn.
All right, so the first item is a conditional use permit for Don Clyburn on Laughlin Road. Mr. Clyburn is seeking the conditional use permit to construct a 5,000 square foot wedding and events venue on this property. It's a 40-acre parcel. It's zoned A1. That's an aerial view of the property. He's proposing a white metal building that will be similar to this photograph. The venue will house weddings, birthday parties, reunions, and community functions. This is their site plan. This is just a preliminary plan. He wants to make sure he's approved for the use before he obtains detailed drawings. The building will be placed here. He does own this piece of property where the driveway will enter in. He estimates that the maximum number of occupants would be 150. And his
adjacent property? What about the adjacent property to the right?
To the right, I think Mr. Clyburn,
Is this
he
the one
owns
that
a
we
good
had
bit
the
of
issue?
property there.
that-
But this is a 40-acre parcel, but so on the right side.
This is the one
That-
that, and they moved down the road
Yeah.
3 or 4 miles and was,
The neighbors wasn't
Right,
happy
this
with
is-
where it was the first
right.
location.
Have y'all gotten a call on
I had.
She,
that? I have.
we had
against it.
I had it on the front part before they came in and redesigned
I thought
it. I think.
they hashed it all out.
I'm not sure if he owns that property or not, but our sign has been out and we,
I don't know, Jared deal with that.
Did
This guy's,
Miss Renee, did you say you talked to Jared on this, kind of his thoughts?
he was good with setting the hearing at this new location.
All right, so Miss Renee had talked to Jared on it. He said he was good at setting a public hearing. So,
Right.
Well, I'll make a motion to set the public hearing.
I'll second.
all right, so a motion to set the public hearing by Mr. Calhoun, second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the like sign. So item 1 passes. Item 2, Miss Renee, Mr. Kelly Foster.
All right, this is a conditional use permit for Kelly Foster at 491 Mount Helm Road. Mr. Foster was approved in December of 16 to place a 2016 by 80 manufactured home on this property. It's 130 acres and it's zoned RE1. He was granted approval for a 4-year period and that expired December 5th of 20. So now Mr. Foster is reapplying and is seeking for renewal of that conditional use permit. This is a view of that property in the home, the
So
manufactured
what
home.
period of time? I don't think he's got that much dirt left.
well, this is a construction area. This is that fallen oaks at the back.
Oh, I thought that was just dirt.
It joins, it's both. And the fallen oaks is probably one of the nicest, upscale developments in Rankin County. And he's in a second phase of it now, building houses. It's really, really nice. And it's just it's taking longer, maybe, I don't know, but I have no problem with it. I make a motion, we set it.
I was just
Alright.
saying, did he put a
Second.
time limit?
Let's give him 4 more years.
Well, this isn't the public hearing, this is just to
Set
set
the
the
public
hearing.
hearing.
Okay, all right.
So got a motion by Mr. Gaines to set the public hearing, second
Second.
by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed with the like sign. So item 2 passes. So item number 3, and Carl Taylor, Ms. Renee.
This is another one of mine.
Right, this is a conditional use permit at 7 Bonaparte Street. This property is located in La Bourgeois Estates, Lot 54. It's a 3.2 acre parcel. It's zoned RE1. He's seeking the conditional use permit to construct a 5,000 square foot metal building home on this property. That's an aerial view of the property. And this is his site plan showing the location of the home on the lot. The metal exterior is not allowed outright in the RE1 zone. And this is a view of, or a photo of what the house will look like. He says the home will contain 2,600 square feet of living space and a garage area of 2,400 square feet. These are views of that property. And then these are surrounding properties. We have posted this property and we're starting to get a good many calls. Most people are just inquiring, wanting to know why the sign is out, but we've had 2 that are opposed because of the metal. They believe it may lower their property values. And now Mr. Taylor is outside today if you want to
Renee,
talk with him.
is this a lot within La Bourgeois?
It is.
It's a defined lot?
It says it's lot 54.
Yeah. Have we looked at
The covenants.
the covenants on this? Have we
No,
looked
sir.
at them?
But I
Yeah,
will.
I'm just curious
Before
if
the
they
public
are.
hearing.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're still effective. That development is
Yeah.
probably more than 30 years old.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, so my concern would be that if there are covenants that they have lapsed, but I think, if I may suggest, guys, I would like to take a look at the covenants to see if there
Yeah.
may be a conflict with
Yeah.
covenants that are in existence.
Yeah.
At least address that before you set this hearing. So I would ask that you table this and let it come back for the potential to set the hearing after I've had an opportunity to review the
And-
covenants.
So we don't need to ask him.
Well, I would like for him to know that he may need to put some brick on the front or something, stone,
I'm ahead of
brick,
you, Renee.
whatever,
I'm gonna get you.
that would make it where
So
the site view would not just be straight.
So what's
down.
gonna happen is, we would table it, but we're gonna have to go back through the process of putting the signs up, re-noticing, republishing.
Yeah,
The applicant should not be required to pay that,
yeah,
because I am asking you to delay it. And so to accommodate our planning commission, to accommodate Ms. Renee's office, she needs to be able to deal with this gentleman even-handedly, I think. And so I want you guys to telegraph to her that she's okay to communicate that there will be no cost to do this again.
Okay.
Okay, was that what you were gonna raise, Renee?
Yes, sir. I was just gonna ask if we couldn't just set it, and would that give us plenty of time to get the covenants? I mean,
Yeah.
I can get those today,
Yeah.
if they're there,
But if
but
the
that's
covenants
just,
address it, then
There's no sense in having a
There-
public hearing.
There's a
well, I
strategy
mean, we
here,
wouldn't have
Renee.
it, but.
Yeah, a bit of the strategy here is that I want the community to know that this board is concerned about the application, okay? And I think just going ahead and setting it may send the wrong message that you guys are prepared to go ahead and grant this. So, I would propose, let's delay this, let's redo at no cost to the applicant. And that'll give us more than enough time to address some of these issues as well. And I think maybe the applicant will be better in a position to want to
Do the brick.
deal with us straight up about some concerns that you guys have already expressed, right? So brick cladding and that type of thing may be discussions that we can have while we're trying to get on top of the covenants. What he's trying to do may not even be allowed under the covenants. I hadn't looked at them, so I need to look at them.
All right.
all right, I'll make that motion.
So motion just to delay it,
table.
table it, I'm sorry. So motion to table item number 3 by Mr.
Second.
Gaines, second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the like sign. So item 3 has been tabled.
Do we need to?
Item number 4, 2nd Street in Madison LLC, Ms. Renee?
All right, so they're seeking a conditional use permit on St. John's Road. They're seeking the conditional use permit to develop a rural subdivision on St. John and Bill Hubbard Roads. This is a 323 acre parcel. It's zoned A2. That's an aerial view of the property. Rural subdivisions are defined as an original tract that creates no more than 10 lots that are 10 acres in size or greater, each of which contains 150 foot of frontage along an existing public road. So this is his survey, and he does show the 10 lots. I think the smallest lot is 11 acres, and the largest is 130.
Darn.
What does that say down at the bottom?
That there's 10 lots. They combined 8A and 10 up at the very top in that little V area. The road divides the property, and so they've combined that and made it one lot of
Have you had
14
any
acres.
calls on this?
I have not. We posted both ends of that property. This is at Bill Hubbard here. And this is looking down St. John, but we've not received any calls. Now, there will be deed restrictions that state there can be no further subdividing without the Board of Supervisors approval, and no manufactured modular or mobile homes are permitted.
I've reached out to some, the adjoining landowners and no opposed.
Oh, that's your district? Well, what's they gonna do with that 10 acres that's in the back?
All of the lots have public road frontage.
Everything's got
See,
frontage.
That's not 10 acres, Jay.
That's
not
130.
Oh,
That's the
130
130.
Tract.
You see how it comes up out there to St. John's Road, right there where Bill Hubbard is? That's the frontage they got.
I mean, are they selling that in the back?
There's,
They
yeah,
can't without your
if somebody
approval.
wants it,
Yeah, okay, but I mean, is that part of the subdivision though?
yeah,
Yes, sir.
That big piece?
that 130.
This,
Yeah,
that's the 130 acre piece.
Oh, it goes right there to the road, I
Yeah.
see now, okay, I got you.
I don't know.
If somebody buys it and then wants to come in and subdivide it, they'll have to figure out a way to
Get to it.
frontage.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
additional.
Who's doing this?
Steve,
Stephen Milner
yeah,
is the
Stephen- Stephen.
realtor.
But there hadn't been any opposition on the adjoining landowners down there. I've talked to them.
All right,
I make a motion to set it.
second.
I think this is your first opportunity, by the way, to
Hardly.
approve a rural subdivision. Is this the first one you've
Second.
had? It's the second one
I'll
you've had?
say, yeah.
Yeah, so you
I had
notice
one.
we're not asking you to consider a rezoning.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the benefit of this. We don't have to go through the rezoning
Yep.
process.
All right. So I got a motion on the table by Mr. Calhoun to
Second.
set the public hearing, second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the like sign. So item 4 is set. Item number 5, Mr. Nate, I'll let you pronounce Jose's.
Jose Varela,
Varela.
conditional use permit at 407 Holyfield Circle. Mr. Varela is seeking the conditional use permit to construct a 36 by 26 metal building to be used as an upholstery shop on this property. It's a .28 acre parcel. It's zoned A1.
Did you say point?
I did, yes, sir. Now, he owns additional property that surrounds it. He owns this piece that's 3.3 acres. It fronts on Shell and Holyfield Circle, but he owns it. And then it wraps around this piece and comes back out over here. So he does have additional property there. Previously, there was an old manufactured home on this property. It's been removed. This is a view of what that building will look like. He says he will be the only employee, and he's proposing hours of operation as Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is a view of that property. That existing concrete drive is there, and the building will be placed to the right of that
Is that
concrete
his
pad.
property that behind it?
Behind it, that's his property. So this is a view from Shell Oil looking down Holyfield. These are surrounding properties,
Is he gonna have to
and
meet,
this is his home that fronts on Shell Oil.
is he gonna have to meet the same standards on these commercial properties?
Like ADA
Yep.
parking, yes, sir.
And
Bathrooms.
sewage and
Yes, sir.
on .28 acres?
Well, he
he's got
owns
the
additional
adjoining
property there too, so
Okay.
if there was, and there's an existing system there with the
I got
home
you.
that was
I
there,
understand.
so.
I'll make a motion to set the hearing.
All right, so motion by Mr. Calhoun to set the public hearing,
Second.
second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the like sign. Motion, or item 5 passes. So moving on to item 4, I don't see anything else under new considerations.
That's
So
correct.
item 5 is dealing with site plan and architectural review.
Yes, sir. This is for Grants Ferry Family Dentistry at 1075 Lake Village Circle. This property is located on the north side of Lake Village Circle. It's a 10,080 square foot lot at Zone C2. Dr. Aaron Green is proposing an addition of 1,152 square feet to the rear of the existing building on this property. This is her site plan. This is the existing, the way it is today, and this is the shaded area is the addition to the rear of the building. The addition will match the existing building. The brick veneer will be the same. And this is a view of that building. And then this is where the addition will be placed. And these are surrounding properties. We haven't received the drainage plan, so if you approve it, we need to do it contingent upon Mr. Parker's approval of that.
All right. I'll make that motion to approve with the contingency of the drainage issue. So motion made by myself, second made by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed, the like sign. So item 1 passes. Seeing no more architectural review stuff under item 5, moving to item 6, nuisance property hearings. Item number 1 is David Ray, nuisance property. Ms. Renee?
Right. So Mr.
Oh, I'm
Slade
sorry.
going to open the
Sorry
public
about
hearing.
We'll move it over to Mr. Slay. Sorry about that.
So she's gonna let me look, she's gonna make me look bad over there.
So item number 1 on David Ray's nuisance.
Oh, goodness. All right, David Ray nuisance property, that, we need to open that public hearing. That's at 439 Parker Street in District 1. Ms. Janice is out there, I think.
Who do you need, sir?
David Ray.
Anyone associated with David Ray?
I was just gonna say, the reason is, I didn't realize that the 15th was a holiday,
That's right.
so I published it, so I republished.
Okay.
Okay.
Republish.
Re.
So that
That's
was
what
my
was
only
going
thinking.
out there and nobody signed the paper.
Okay.
All right.
So we let the record reflect that we have called out in the hallway for anyone affiliated with David Ray concerning the nuisance property at 439 Parker Street in District 1. Renee, if you, that hearing is open, if you'll publish the photograph, please.
All right, so we received this complaint in November of 2020 in regard to rubbish and debris, inoperable appliances, and grass and weeds. These pictures were taken on November 10th. The mail was delivered, but we've had no contact from the owner. This is in Burnside Estates, it's Lot 1.
But they have cleaned up some.
This is the new pictures. He has
They burned the
burned some
pile.
of that pile that was
They
in the
just tore
front,
what was out there.
I can't even burn the whole thing.
Yeah.
but it still needs work.
Is that burn?
It is vacant. Probably somebody moved out.
That's a
Washing machine.
washing.
Washing machine?
Washing machine. Dishwasher.
Machine?
All right.
Where does the owners live? Do we know?
Florence.
But not in that.
No, they live in another subdivision in that area.
Ms. Renee, have you heard anything from Jared on this property?
He did tell me that it needed to be declared a nuisance.
Okay, I make a motion we declare it
Second.
nuisance.
All right, so a motion by Mr. Gaines to declare nuisance, second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed, the like sign.
For the
Item
record,
number-
that hearing is closed. Gentlemen, if we're ready to move to the next item,
Item
the
number
Sarah Kemp nuisance property at 210 Trace Drive, District 3 property. That hearing is open. Is there anyone out there? Okay, Ms. Janice reports that we've called for anyone representing Sarah Kemp or anyone on her behalf to come forward. And so that hearing is open. Renee, if you'll demonstrate, please.
All right, so this is in Cedar Ridge subdivision. We received a complaint in September about the condition of the property. These pictures were taken in September. We did have contact from the son of one of the owners. And basically, he was saying that they would hire somebody to clean the property. But now, these are the new pictures. The mobile home has been removed, but they just left stuff everywhere.
Oh, my.
We haven't been able to make contact or find a good address now for anyone. I think one of the owners passed away, and the other one we're not having any luck finding.
I make a motion. No.
Second.
All right, so motion by Mr. Gaines to declare a nuisance, second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion?
I
All in
don't know,
favor?
it should be better just in the justice court. I mean, get it.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
That's what we just did.
Okay.
So I guess,
said nuisance.
Mr. Slade,
Before they pull the trailer.
in the discussion, you gonna close the public hearing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Slade closes the public hearing.
Absolutely. Thank
All
you.
in favor say
Thank you,
aye.
Mr. President.
Any opposed with the like sign. So motion passes. So item 7,
The
no
next-
further business, just next meeting on February 25th.
Yes, sir.
At 9 a.m. So motion by Mr. Bishop to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the like sign. So we'll close up the planning commission meeting and open our board of supervisors work session. So the first item here is Mr. Harris, freshly shaved, ready to go with 2021. So discussion and potential action on Harold Road Bridge.
Yes,
How are you,
sir.
Mike?
I'd like to get the authorization to go ahead and, I know we talked about bridges, but this road is on our state aid road. This is gonna be in our project or overlay. We'd like to get this bridge changed out before we did overlay the road, so everything will match.
Was that on your list of bridges to do?
Yes, sir.
Harold Road?
That was on our original list.
Oh, it was one of them?
Yes, sir.
How much is this one gonna cost us, you think?
90,000 in material and 174 in installment, Jay.
All right. I make a motion to add item,
All right.
or to approve.
Approve. A motion by Mr. Bishop to approve,
Second.
second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion?
Whose
And-
district?
And we're gonna,
Who is it?
Whose road is it?
Mine.
District 4.
Gaines?
No.
And we're just gonna we're gonna order the material right now. We can hold off on issuing the PO for
Hey,
installment.
while we're talking about this,
Yes, sir.
some of these low-traffic roads, like this one,
Yes, sir.
Do we not need maybe a signage that says no trucks over so many pounds or something, to where we're not crossing this bridge?
Yes, sir, we do.
Every
We do
year.
on these local interior county roads that we have. But on the backside of it, I mean, me and Craig have talked about this, and engineer, I mean, we've got to come up with an ordinance if we're gonna do that. Right now, we have no ordinance in
Can we-
place to enforce
Can
it.
we get the wheels moving? This would help so much in the cost of replacing bridges.
Well, keep in
Because-
mind that, we've kind of had fits and starts
Yeah.
about whether or not,
Right.
that history's long and doesn't need repeating. But
Well, I mean, I think in these type situations, it may, Harold Road.
Yeah.
It may cause somebody to drive 3 to 5 minutes more instead of cutting through. But it cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace a bridge. And, I mean, we used to see these signs all the time that, weight limit on this road or bridge or whatever.
Right.
Or no truck, I mean, what you
Yeah.
want, like no truck signs?
That's what he was saying, we've been down that road many
Well,
times.
Well, I was very.
I mean, in platted subdivisions and then these rural areas that it's just a little road that may not be 5 miles long and it's got 2 bridges in it and loggers or whoever. I
3
mean,
houses, the school
Yeah.
bus needs to go down.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
It's a state aid road, so I think that's gonna be a default, they could drive it.
well, maybe a state aid road, we would not be able to do that on, but
Right.
I'm talking in general.
Yeah.
Because this is something we're gonna be facing with the new guidelines and all on these bridges.
Yes, sir, and I mean, right now, I think there's a bill out there talking about raising the weight limits, right now. I mean, going from 80,000
Yeah,
to
because they turn
88.
the bridges over to us and put restrictions.
We're talking about
Right.
going to
So they don't-
88,000 now, so.
They don't have
By
the,
2023.
Well, and here's the other factor on this, and we dealt with a pretty good problem. We've been dealing with for a good while out on Mount Helm on that side of it. Even though we may have a route marked as a no truck route or no truck road,
we have no
we've got no
enforcement.
enforcement of it. So I think that's kind of where now we get down into the platted subdivisions and we're able to hold a lot more feet to the fire and
Yes.
really account for it more. But the enforcement side of it is kind of the gray area that nobody's really, I mean, we post it and we say we don't want these heavier trucks on
My
these
knowledge,
roads.
that worked.
Well,
I think they quit using it.
Well, they did maybe for a little while, but they're still coming down there
Damn,
pretty
they're-
good. So yeah, they're coming down that road to get to 471. They're cutting across
Right.
there instead of
Yeah,
going down. So we've got it marked as that, but on that county roadway, we don't have an enforcement mechanism, and that was marked a no truck road 20 years ago, 15 years ago, as far as Mount Helm was. But the enforcement power, my main thing is if we're going to enforce it, I don't know how we're going to enforce it, but if we were going to enforce it, it's got to be uniform across the county. We can't just pick out one road that's a no truck road and say we're just going to enforce that one and not enforce it in other places. So at some point, maybe in your notes, Keith, to sit down. I know Slay's done a ton of research on the hall ordinance, but you two maybe sit down and come up with some ideas or suggestions on how we can do enforcement or some type of either enforcement or get rid of them, I guess is my point, because it's just
Yeah, and I think-
it's a gray area we're sitting at, that we have a no truck route. The resident that lives on that area, residents that live in that area, may be fussing and say, hey, it's marked no truck, but there's still trucks coming down, so what are you gonna do about it? Well, I don't know the answer to that question.
So
So-
any enforcement is gonna, obviously it's gonna automatically include manpower, providing the vehicle, having them appropriately certified, deputized to be able to issue any type of criminal fine associated with violation of the ordinance. So there's multiple issues that are wrapped up with the enforcement piece of that. We talked about that at length. And it's,
Yeah.
I'm with Daniel that if we're going to put an ordinance in place, we're gonna put signs up. If you don't have the enforcement piece, you've not done anything.
That's right.
That was a month or so ago.
So we've gotta have the enforcement piece
Well-
situated.
Yeah, and I mean,
Paul
I have
Holly
residents.
Paul Holly doesn't have anything else.
Yeah, I'm gonna take up Paul now.
I'm playing. That was facetious.
But yeah, so we do have that on the agenda to talk about.
Talk
for
about later
Monday.
on, so that may be
Yes.
something to come back up. All right, so I got a motion on the floor, I got a second. Any other discussion on the Harold Road Bridge? All in favor say aye. Any opposed with the like sign, so item A passes. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Harris.
Appreciate it.
I
Mr.
wanna know
Slay, you
why
back up.
a road in my district has got to come before the board to do maintenance, and another district, they can, never mind.
I don't know, I might like an answer on that, I wouldn't mind hearing the answer. So,
So, under my section, gentlemen, without further ado, Yeah. without further discussion.
Sorry about that, sorry.
No,
Mr.
I'm
Slade's trying to
teasing,
get
I'm
past this
teasing, yeah.
quickly, so.
I wanted to catch you guys up to speed on this first item here, discussion of the investigation by PSC into that sinkhole. This is in Hidden Hill subdivision. This is on North Haven Place. This is a sinkhole that developed in the private utility easement and drainage easement reserved by the developer of the subdivision, Mr. Randy Berg, through an LLC that he created. So on the plat, it's delineated as a drainage easement, some 10 feet between houses. What we have is a breach in the drainage pipe, and it's silted, and so it's basically, it's acting as a funnel, and it's created this above-ground sinkhole, and it has jeopardized the utilities that bisect this drainage easement. So that's how the PSC got involved. It's affecting the public utilities that serve that residential subdivision.
And it's off the right of way.
It's off the right-of-way. All of this is off public right-of-way. Our involvement has been to determine whether or not there is some jeopardy, some current problem affiliated with this sinkhole that can jeopardize the public infrastructure, our professionals and I've looked, have determined that currently the public right-of-way is not jeopardized. It's not at a point where I'm comfortable asking the board to authorize off right-of-way work to protect on right-of-way infrastructure, but we have beat the drum and sounded the alarm to everybody, utilities, the PSC, the private homeowners, the HOA. We've beat the drum to tell them, if y'all just sit around and do nothing and let this get into the road, you're gonna put us in the position of wanting to come back to somebody who is responsible for that sinkhole and ask them to cover all costs associated with our repairs. So we warned them and told them that that's where we are. PSC has opened a docket on this. That means they've opened an investigation and they've moved it up to the commission level. And our Brent Bailey has asked that the county participate in an investigation. The board considered that. I recommended that we not get involved in that. It's not our issue. We don't need to be participating in spending money to find out solutions to problems that are not ours. That we got plenty to do of our own problems, and paying for other people's problems is not something I want us to get in the middle of. And he understood that, and while he was disappointed about it, he hoped that the other people who are involved in this process would step up. It looks like that there's very little participation or willingness to participate, so I think he's kind of throwing his hands up and doesn't really know what to do at this point.
Well,
I
and,
wish
what
he
they
would
could
get
do.
involved.
yeah, and the other thing is, eventually at some point, just like Slay said, it's coming back to the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming that
I mean,
direction.
it's pretty
So
close
Yeah.
anyway.
So-
I mean,
it's just on the other side of it.
yeah,
Back
it
in
looks like it's
September-
on the right of way.
Just
In
past
that
it.
picture, I mean,
Just past it. So yeah.
In September, Daniel crawled down in this pipe that has been breached
That's the
and
one
took
with the
videos
video.
and
Yep.
photographs.
Okay.
We circulated that on our side, just to draw a bead on it, and it's obvious there's a breach in the pipe. There is in fact a utility wire of some description laying in the breach. If we can identify whose wire that is, I think we will find the culprit for why the sinkhole's there. You would think it's a simple process, right? So Mr. Parker sent the video and the photographs to me. I sent those to the PSC and said, hey, look what we found. Wouldn't it be cool if y'all could identify, y'all are the PSC, surely y'all can help identify who this is. Nothing has been done to this point because they wanted to get an investigation by an engineer who could certify all of it. Well, in my opinion, we don't need all that. We just need somebody to tell us who cut that, whose wire is that in the hole?
oh, yeah,
That's the
I
fella.
thought
What
this
name?
was really and truly, where all these pipes were coming apart, so I thought it was like
Yeah,
10 or
yeah,
12 of them.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess my thing is this pipe isn't coming apart. It's been punctured. It's been busted through.
Water's
The plastic's
coming through
busted.
there
It's
and
not
blowing
separating
it.
out of the, like there's a concrete box that goes down and the plastic comes, it's not plastic, but it comes into the concrete.
Yeah,
It's not separating. It's busted. The pipe outside the right of way, it's been busted through when they were laying fiber or whatever type of utility.
Doing their board.
Busted, it bored through the plastic PVC. That's what's hanging through there. So it's not a separation in the pipe. It's a
Borehole.
It's a slice.
slice in the, yeah, that's right. So that's what it is. So
So here's,
good. Well, here's the deal. I was 50-50 on cutting it. Then I moved into about 80-20, but there's an electrical wire too, and I wasn't 100% sure that it wasn't electrical because the electrical meter right there on the same side. I could have told you. The problem was you had an open in District 2, which would have been,
Well, if you
know.
cut it, we would have known it.
That's exactly
what it
right.
was.
And you maybe have somebody else sitting right here, which may have been the plan to cut it. Yeah, I can't argue with you there. But, yeah, so it's an easy fix to figure it out.
it
but-
is. So where we are
They gotta do
is, we have continued to communicate back to Mr. Bailey, to the other participants in all of this. We've done what we could to try to help educate this particular HOA that unbeknownst to them, the way it works, when the developer hands off the subdivision development at completion and dedicates the common areas to the HOA, that means private drainage easements and holes in people's yards above private drainage easements are presumptively an issue for the HOA to deal with. And so we've educated them, and they're not happy about that reality. They love just to be able to pick up the phone and call in a work order. If there are sinkholes that are in the right-of-way, Mike Harrison does a fantastic job of dealing with those. If there's sinkholes that are damaging our streets, we deal with that. But if they are off the road right away, and invariably, guys, those 9 or 10 or 12 or whatever that they keep pointing to on the plat with little green circles, those are gonna be 20, 40, 50, 80, 100 feet off of the road right away.
And
Well,
those,
that's
and
easy, but
and
this
those
one,
could
man,
be
is
separation.
right there at it, and it is gonna impact the road.
No
so
question.
I was like, I don't know, I would just assume, I'd go along with fixing it.
Well, the problem,
Keep
if you
trying to
fix
go through
this
all
one,
this.
you fix this one, and then there was another one that's 5 foot
Yes.
further.
It was
And
like
then-
several in that
Oh, yeah.
subdivision.
Well, you remember, we had the same situation when I
Yeah.
first came into office in
Okay.
Fox Bay. We had one probably about 15 feet outside of it, and you could lose a Volkswagen car in this joker. But what happened was, same thing, it punctured a pipe down on the side,
Right,
tied into
right.
ours, and
Yeah.
the utility company
The
came,
electric,
punctured through
the
it.
electric,
And you had 2 houses.
Yep, I
Coming
remember
into
that
it.
one.
Yep.
So we couldn't legally touch them. We went everywhere
Correct.
we could to see if we had a legal grounds to do it. We couldn't do that. Put it back on
Yes.
the homeowner or
Yes.
whatever group or the association
Yes.
that did it. This is the same situation, except you're 3 or 4 feet off the right of way. Now, this one, at some point, you're right, it's coming back to the roadway, and then it will be our issue. The other one was 15 feet off, and it never came back to the roadway.
Right.
If this gets to the roadway, can we go after whoever we decide
Punctured the hole.
punctured
yes, sir.
the pipe?
Yes, sir. We will have to establish the basis for their responsibility
Yeah.
for it, Steve.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do, what I think we are effectively doing at this point, by continuing to beat the drum, that somebody better protect our infrastructure. You've got utility providers out there who have already said, if we can get some sort of arrangement put together, we'll chip in, we'll help to stabilize the situation and get it resolved. That, we've done everything we know to do to help incentivize the HOA primarily, because they need to be out front and take responsibility for this, to incentivize them to work with the utility providers to lower the total cost of doing this repair.
Well, and
Let them help.
yeah, and for the same side, I think we've got enough documentation now that this action took place off a right of way. That's
right.
now worked back to us, that we're having to deal with it, that I think you've got enough grounds to say,
Yeah.
we can go fix it.
Yes.
But this is why we're having to go fix it now.
I don't think there's any question with the video and photograph evidence that Daniel secured. There is no question that we have everyone's attention. And by the way, I did a reply all in my request to the PSC for information on where they stand on identifying who it was that breached the pipe and whose wire that is. Strategically, I did a reply all, and that worked because now most of the utility companies are wanting to see the photos. So I think eventually we're going to have one or more utility providers say, that may be ours, that decides we want to jump on this and try to get it resolved.
Well, if we just like go out there and repair it, somehow that gets cut, I think you can find out real quick.
As long as you don't cut the electrical.
Oh,
So, because it's right there with it.
Oh.
So that's what I'm saying. The
Yeah,
reason,
there
the
was all
reason,
kind
the
of
reason,
stuff
the
with
reason I
pedestals
didn't, the reason I
falling
didn't cut the
in and-
one, the reason I didn't cut the one coming through the pipe was at the same spot there was an electrical line doing the same thing,
Yeah,
and I wasn't 100% sure.
I got
Yeah.
you.
Which was
My life
which.
insurance is paid, and Julie would probably say just cut the wire anyway. And see what happens, you know, but I just
Roll the dice,
I roll
huh?
the dice, son. Roll the dice. So, all right.
So just a little more time, kind of waiting for things to settle out.
So you think you'll get a utility to step up?
My hope is that a utility steps forward and says, that appears to be our wire. And if that happens, then,
Because it's a far
my
greater.
prediction is
it's-
we'll get this resolved.
It's a far greater cost for them to pay to fix the road than it is going to fix this pipe and fill it in on their wire. Because
Well,
when it
for
gets in the
sure,
road,
though, man, it
they're
is-
really gonna lose some
It
money.
is a safety matter.
Yeah, no
because,
question.
You know, that's,
it's a big hole.
it's a huge hole. Like I said, there's a power pedestal right there and all those wires hanging down.
Hey, and the street light is sitting on the edge of it. You know, right there. I mean, it's
This is a very active HOA, and invariably, we get a ton, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, we get a ton of work orders out of this bunch.
Yeah.
And,
sinkholes.
there are a lot of off right-of-way sinkholes out there.
Yeah, I can
That-
relate. I understand.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so we really don't want to be in the position of just helping this HOA every time they call us. They need to take responsibility for what is outside the right of way.
Well, and we want to do what's legal. That's the main thing, so.
Okay, so that's all, that was the only thing, I just need to give you guys a quick update on that. We're still working on that, y'all heard about it. Item B is too long for y'all to read through. The long and short of it is this: the Mississippi Supreme Court, in conjunction with the State Personnel Board, took the law that was changed back in 16 that gave circuit chancery judges raises, and that law had within it a mechanism to allow for additional raises in the future, and the future is now. And so the Supreme Court, with the blessing of the State Personnel Board, has notified all counties in Mississippi that chancery and circuit judges are receiving a raise effective January 1, 2021. It's already in place. It's done, by the way, ipso facto. Y'all don't get a vote on that, okay? So circuit and chancery has been bumped up. That doesn't affect us. They are paid by the state through the Administrative Office of Courts, circuit and chancery. What hasn't been addressed, but what is being addressed now, is the fact that your county court judges, of which there are only about 20 in the state, because not every county has a county court judge, but the county court judges are actually budgeted for and paid for through county coffers. Their salary by statute is tied to the salary of the circuit judge. So if the circuit judge gets a raise, the county court judge gets a raise commensurate with the statute that says that's how he's paid. You have 2 county court judges. You got one at youth court, you got Judge McDaniel. So
They're going to 148 now?
the circuit judges are at 149. The statute says the county court judge is paid $1,000 less than the circuit judge. So Kent and Tom will be at 148 effective January 1. Here's the nice part about this. If you read further, you'll see it says that the Administrative Office of Courts is responsible for paying any increase associated with the 2016 statute that raised the salaries. You're not paying for this raise, but you have to authorize the raise and you have to adjust your budget accordingly. Okay?
Sound like.
Did I cover that well enough, Ms. Law? All
All right.
right. Keith, did I cover that well? Thank you.
Just out of my own mindset, what was it before it was 149?
It's in the neighborhood of 135-ish.
20,000 maybe?
No, it's a $13,000 raise
$13,000,
is what it
okay.
amounts to.
All right. All right, so do you need a motion or
Just
anything?
need y'all to approve the amendment of the budget.
So motion to approve?
Second.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Bishop.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the like sign. Item C, Mr. Slay.
Item C is basically cleanup work related to your grant project with the State Department of Health. You remember we entered into an arrangement with the State Department of Health to renovate the property at 401 Parkway Drive in Pearl. They're closing their WIC center and they're moving the WIC people into the existing county-owned building at that address, and they need to renovate and modify that space. The State Department of Health is receiving a grant fund to pay for all of that renovation, but they have to, it's our building, so they have to work through us to do it. All you're doing is approving the State Department of Health to work with Marcus Hall of Hall Engineering to provide all of the documentation that's necessary for that renovation project. It's more than $50,000, so it has to go through the bid process, and this is setting us up to get a bid package put together.
All right, so motion by Mr. Bishop to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed with the like sign.
I have 2 items to discuss with you in the additional business section, and we're going to have an executive session involving personnel.
Okay. All right. Mr. Hicks?
The only item I have is the review of the agenda for Monday's meeting.
Any questions?
No.
Good. All right. Excellent job,
All
Mr.
right.
Hicks. Excellent job. All right, so item 8, additional business to be discussed. Was Slay covering that, or Keith, were you doing it?
Well, Mike Harrison and myself,
Okay.
this has been something we've dealt with for 2-3 years. It's in subdivision Holly Bush Place, and when this subdivision was drawn out, I guess 20 years ago, this road, Greenbrier, was just truncated. It looked like that maybe the developer planned to go, there was another 20 or 40 acres, but never went past where it stops. And there was no turnaround, there was no anything, just a chopped off road. And 3 people bought about, I don't know, 20 to 40 acres of land. One of them is straight past, I mean, if you just kept going on Greenbrier, you'd drive up their driveway. It's their driveway. It's not a private, well, it is a private drive, but anyhow. Another drive tails off around to the left and feeds 2 houses, which before this board or the previous board it was just before, previous board from this, they allowed this private drive named J.C. Taylor Way to feed 2 homes. And there's no problem at all. It worked fine, except there's no turnaround. There's no, and we have tried to get the right of way. There's 3 property owners that we will have to get about 5 or 6 foot on each side of the road. We're burdened with utility pad on one side, so we can't just move everything one way or the other, and it wouldn't make sense. But one of the property owners does not want us to, he doesn't want to give us the right of way that would be
Are you serious?
4 to 6 foot. Yeah. Now, the same property owner was at odds with a couple of the landowners because they would put their garbage can, and there's no roundabout, there's no turnaround, and they would bring their garbage cans and put it on the side of the road, which was in our right of way, but he didn't want their garbage cans up there and says, we need to fix this for garbage and mail. So we said, okay, we'll try. And he's the very one now that won't give us the right of way to do it.
Those requests, by the way, Steve, have been out for probably a year?
Yeah.
Probably?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but anyhow, because the garbage truck has to back down the road, and anyhow, and the mail, anyhow, the end of this road has, we've put 610 with crushed limestone in that area maybe 6 months ago or so, and it did okay, but it's broke back up, and I'd like to give Mike the authority. I'm not saying take anything in extra that we don't already have, no construction. If it's asphalt or even mat and seal, chip seal, this area that's broken up, it's in our, I mean, it's our county road, and it's just at the end where a lot of activity, having to try to turn around and jackknife 4 or 5 times with a big truck or garbage truck or whatever, it's torn it up. And I don't want to spend a lot of money because I feel at some point things are going to change and we'll be able to put a turnaround. But at this point, we can't. So I didn't want to forget to bring this up, and that's why we put it under this. I'm not talking about probably $7,500 when they're in that area. I don't want to move up there if we're not close by.
Is there a way we can stake the problem owner's property before we do that, to delineate precisely where that lot line is?
Yeah.
And that way, when we go out there to do the work, there's no question that we're not getting on his or her property.
Yes, I believe so.
There's-
That's a planted subdivision, so we.
Yeah.
got that.
Just so y'all know, the guy wants us to do some drainage work in his yard before, and we can't, it's private property.
And by the way, to Steve's credit, he's communicated consistently that when we go to help folks out like this, they're donating the right of way.
Yeah.
So what's been clearly communicated is, we can do this corrective work, but it's gotta be at no cost to the county to acquire right of
Well,
way.
you would think
gotta
they would
donate
all
the
be
right of way.
more than
We,
willing to do it.
we thought
you know?
they, going into it, we thought it was flush deal, I mean, just-
Yeah,
but-
we're gonna go create a turnaround for them.
Yeah.
That guy
To
said,
ease
please
all
help
their-
me get this straight. And we said, okay, please give us the right of way. And he said, no.
So can we create the turnaround without his property?
No,
Not without getting an exorbitant amount from the other neighbors. Why should
and
they give up?
when you do that, you got a power pad over
Jeez.
here that's,
So we just gonna patch up what's there
Yeah,
now to
yeah.
make it a little bit nicer.
yeah, I mean, just where
To where
the
School bus, whatever,
Mail,
can get turned
yep,
around,
yep.
garbage.
Slade, do you need action on that, or just,
Yeah, it'd be good, just so Mike's got it
So-
clear his
All
mind.
right, I make a motion that we maintain what we already have there, with either chip seal or whatever's the cheapest that you can get in there and put it back together.
Second.
so motion by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed, the like sign. Item A passes. So,
Nice guy.
couple items under additional business, Mr. Slay, you have?
If I may,
Mm,
He's the one.
As you guys know, this is on the Andrew Chapel Road Improvement Project. As you guys know, we've been in an impasse with one utility provider, AT&T, about the situation with respect to their utility infrastructure that's in conflict with the Andrew Chapel Road project. We were notified by AT&T that back in, at the end of November, first part of December, that in order for them to relocate their utilities on Andrew Chapel Road, the county was obligated to write them a check for $163,900. We took offense at that, and we suggested to AT&T that we needed more time than normal to review their permit applications in Rankin County. We were greeted with their reply to that activity, a lawsuit suing Rankin County. And so we have been at odds with AT&T and involved in litigation now for several weeks. As a part of that process, we have had discussions with AT&T, and we believe we now have a resolution that we want the board to consider. And we're requesting the board today, after considering it, if the board is of a mind that this is an acceptable resolution, I'm asking you to authorize the county entering into a settlement with AT&T to resolve this impasse. The terms of the agreed upon settlement would be this: AT&T will, without any agreement from Rankin County as to whether, or if so, how much Rankin County will reimburse AT&T, they will relocate all of the utilities that are in conflict on Andrew Chapel Road. So the subject of how much will be held until a later date.
all right.
They will immediately begin relocation activities and will work to have those utilities relocated on or before April the 30th of 2021, basically 90 days from today. They will have their utility infrastructure out of the way. Rankin County will release their permit applications and their permits that are currently pending, that have been hung up. They will agree to dismiss with prejudice the lawsuit that they have filed against us. Okay? So where does that leave us if the board is of a mind to approve that? Where that leaves us is we'll have utilities out of the way, and there'll be a later discussion about what, if anything, Rankin County is going to pay AT&T to do that. Right? The other issue is we cut off the litigation expense because they're going to dismiss their suit. And we're going to do this in a gentleman's agreement sort of way. We'll give them the permits, and they'll give us the order of dismissal signed by the judge.
Okay.
And so that would be, I'd ask that you add that to the agenda, and that you approve. My recommendation would be to approve that settlement arrangement.
All right.
Make a motion.
So,
We
motion by
accept
Mr.
it.
Gaines to add it to the agenda.
And I
Second.
thank our legal counsel for bringing this to wherever we're at. I thank y'all.
All right,
Yes,
so
sir.
Motion, Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the like sign. So that was to add it. So motion to approve
Yep.
with the same.
Yep.
Mr. Gaines, Mr. Bishop. So Mr. Gaines with a motion, Mr. Bishop with a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the like sign. So motion's been added and passed. Slay, you got anything else?
Yeah,
Other additional
so,
business?
at this point, we've got one additional utility provider on Andrew Chapel. We've already discussed this, it's not cooperating, just to be as frank and honest and transparent as I can be. They're not cooperating. And it's disappointing because it's completely unnecessary. But nonetheless, we still have that issue sitting out there, despite the fact that now 5 out of the 6 utilities in conflict have cooperated and are in the process of relocating their utilities to get out of our way. Despite the fact that we only have now 1 left to go, we believe that we would be well served to go ahead and position the board to at least publish the advertisements for construction. We do need to have some discussion with the engineer, with the road manager, with the supervisor about precisely how we're going to do that. But I anticipate that by the 15th of February, you guys will be acting on a request to authorize the publishing of the bid notice, okay?
Right.
So that's just a quick update on
You
things.
don't need action on that?
No,
All right.
that's just information. The second issue that I have is this: you guys have already authorized your legal team and our engineers that are working with us on our stormwater management plan to implement and go through the process of making contact, strategic contact, especially with our federal delegation. That process is underway. 1 or more of you guys will be contacted soon about sitting in on some meetings with the Corps of Engineers, with NRCS, and I'm looking at everybody on the board here. Whoever can be available to sit in on those will probably be asked to do so. So just be aware that's going to happen in early February. A letter needs to go to your federal delegation from this board that says, please don't forget that there is a 7001 application submitted by Rankin County, and it is currently working its way through the process. Please help us support that. I need authority, it needs to be added to the agenda, authority for your board president to execute a letter to your federal delegation about your 7001 application. It's a 1-page letter, that's all that's on it. 7001 application. I need you to authorize your board president to execute that so we can get it to your federal delegation.
All right.
I make that motion.
Second.
So a motion by Mr. Gaines to add it to the agenda, second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the like sign. So motion to approve by
Second.
Mr. Gaines again, Mr. Calhoun with a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, with the like sign. Thank you, Mr. Slay. Harrison, you got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of update y'all real quick. We are working on the Shiloh Bridge right now. Shiloh Road is closed now, which we got that detour en route. If everything goes well, hopefully in another week, 10 days, we'll be through with that bridge. Now, we'll be moving to Greenfield immediately after that. We have notified the businesses there as much as we can.
Have you put a board up there yet?
No, sir, we're waiting a little closer to the time. We're driving some test piles Friday, Jay, on Shiloh. If they pass, we know what pile lengths we got to have, then that process will move pretty quick on Shiloh. And we'll kind of know more of a date, but probably next week, we're gonna probably post signs. Y'all gonna probably get some calls. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that. Me and Tim's gonna get with Chuck here in a minute, give him kind of an update on that so we can get it in the paper. But, Sheriff, you and Mike, that road will be completely shut down. There will not be a turnaround put in.
You said, what, about a month you expected that?
6 to 8 weeks, 2
months.
That's Greenfield?
Greenfield, right below Bob Boyd Honda right there.
Yep.
So, I mean, that'll be completely shut down.
That's a pretty heavy.
Yeah, I know.
That's 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. That's,
Yeah.
A lot of traffic
But we've
on that road.
notified Pearl, Road Department, we've notified the school, both
have
ways.
we talked to RJ's place, Reed's,
Yes,
few distributors?
Yes, I have talked to the distributor place myself, and
The
I told
mayor
him,
was going to, so I didn't
Okay.
know.
so, I talked to him
It's something gotta
personally.
be done.
Shallow, how long
Gotta
is
get it
the
done.
shallow road gonna be closed all the way, or is there a turnaround on it? I mean, is it
It's closed all the way.
Make it
They just turn by
bypass.
Pleasant and make that detour right now on it.
It's not that bad of inconvenience on shallow.
The Greenfield's gonna be the worst one we're gonna face.
Greenfield go get you.
Let's- Hey, Brad, where, if you're coming off of Highway 18, where's that bridge?
It's before you get to the park, isn't it?
Yes,
It's between Lewis Wilson
Yeah.
and the park.
It's not in the city though, huh?
yes.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
It is
All right,
in the
That's
city.
what I was thinking.
And we're keeping the city abreast of what's going
Okay.
on there, so,
Yeah.
on that. But the Greenfield's gonna impact us the worst.
You're right.
So I just wanna kinda update y'all so we keep it on our
Keep
mind.
up with that
Fixing to
money
get
spent on that bridge.
Sorry?
Yeah, keep up with the money spent on these bridges in the city so that when we have somebody
Yes, sir.
that says, hey, what about my county taxes?
Yes, sir.
You know, I pay county taxes, but I live in the city, we can share that with them that we spent this
Yes,
money
sir.
over here and that money over there.
And we do give a bunch of asphalt money to the cities.
Yeah.
So, all right,
All right,
thank you,
thank
Mr.
y'all.
Harris.
Hey, is there any kind of updates on vaccination shots? Have you heard anything?
The vaccination stuff, as far as on the first responder side, is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. So as
We're just
far as
not getting the dosage here.
we're
that
not
we
we're not
need?
getting it provided to our firefighters and our law enforcement people. The EMS guys are getting it, but the fire departments and the law enforcement officers aren't seem to be high enough priority for our health department to be able to add them into the mix.
Y'all
So
got all that CARES Act money, see?
But it's all over the table. I mean, you hear somebody
Crazy.
that's not,
I'm just
for
telling you.
no
yeah,
reason.
I'm
I
telling you.
And
yeah.
They want to do 1 million shots in the next 100 days. I mean,
Well, it needs to start with, I'll give you an example. Pearl Fire Department, Jay,
Yep.
had a deal set up where they called them and said, hey, do you want us to come in and vaccinate your firemen guys? So they all signed up, said, yeah, absolutely, we're ready to go. So they came in and go do it. They said, we changed our mind. We can't authorize to give it to you because y'all are firemen. And their argument was that the fire department's not on scene long enough, and along with the law enforcement, that's compared to an EMS guy transporting somebody. So total oversight,
So
in
they
my
called
opinion.
them to schedule it, and then they changed their mind.
Correct. So and we've got major issues on not being able to vaccinate our firefighters and our law enforcement people who are first responders on the scene with people having COVID reactions, and we're not getting those guys vaccinated. So it's a very, very frustrating
do we
thing.
have the vaccines here in Mississippi, or
I
we
mean,
just not getting
I
them
think
sent down?
I think it just depends on who you talk to. Some people say we have enough vaccines for our first
I thought you
responders.
got yours, Dean.
I did.
So they
On-
did
on-
the
on the-
state fire.
So no,
But
so
just
no,
not city
no. So what
fire.
they're doing, anybody that has the medical stuff, they're giving it to on selective
EMTs.
basis. So they came by and they hit some of your medics
Okay.
on those that are they're deeming if you're a medic you can transport
Right.
and you can get it. But if you're a first responder on the fire department side
Yeah.
that show up at the house for 10 minutes waiting on an ambulance, getting the guy coughing on you, breathing on
Sometimes
you,
30 or 40 minutes.
you're not eligible to get vaccinated. It's total BS. Total BS. So depending on what agency you're with, dictates how you get vaccinated. So it's a bad oversight. So five words.
Mr. Cross, on that matter, I had and I'll be happy to share it with you. I had an email just the other day from the private contractor that is hired by MEMA to help in this vaccine, which MEMA has nothing to do with it. And the question, and I actually called them because I wasn't going to respond to this on email. Their question was from the State Department of Health: how many vaccine sites do you have in Rankin County? Where is it located? When did it start operation? So I immediately picked the phone up and called and said, is there no way that you can get this information from the State Department of Health? They are 100% in charge of all vaccines. It's their site. They're doing 100% of everything. They could not even get them. Department of Health doesn't even know what they've got or where they've got it. They could not give the information to MEMA as to where, when, how long, nothing. I'll be happy to share that email with you, but absolutely right. Mr. Cross is true.
Here's the other big disconnect.
It's only been a debacle for the last now 329 days.
Let me add one thing to it, just so everybody kind of understand the magnitude of this. By not vaccinating the fire departments and not vaccinating our law enforcement people, you're creating the super spreader events. Because what happens is they go out to a call of a person that may have COVID, and they work that medical call, and they leave that medical call, and they go back to the fire station or go back to their patrol car or wherever they go.
Go home.
Then they get another call to someone else who is not a COVID patient. They respond to that patient, and they bring a possible contamination into that next residence, because they've been exposed. So by not vaccinating our first responders properly, we're creating our own super spreader event because other people are having 911 issues. It's a total oversight on this. It's very frustrating to the responders. It's very frustrating to the people that call 911. So I'm not happy about it. But I voiced that to the Department of Health. I voiced it to all the channels, and it's just deaf ears. So I'll just keep voicing it. So, all right. Anything else on additional business? Thanks for that, though, Brad. I'm glad you brought that up. Get my blood pressure back up to a dangerous point again. All right. Executive session, Mr. Slade, for personnel. So the board entertain a motion for executive session regarding personnel by Mr. Bishop. Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed with the like sign. So now motion to go into executive session by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are in executive session.